Okay, I am excited to be sitting here with Jason today. To give you a little background of what Volta is, we are a network of EV charger stations that are powered by media. So we have 55-inch digital screens on all our EV charging stations, and we are strategically placed in front of retail locations across the country. So think grocer, mall, lifestyle centers, catching the eye of everybody walking into those specific retail locations. Jason, I will let you jump in and tell us a little bit about what you do at Diageo.
Sure, thank you. Hey guys, I'm Jason Acker. I'm with Diageo. For those of you who don't know what Diageo is, we are the largest alcohol supplier in the world. We have brands you've probably all heard of: Smirnoff, Johnny Walker, Captain Morgan, Bullet. There you go, I like it. Don Julio, Casamigos. Tell your friends. I've been there for about 11 years now, and I lead a group we call Connections. And we call it Connections because it's our job to make sure that the great work that our brands are producing are put in front of as many of the right consumers as possible. So I oversee paid media and digital activation, as well as our consumer data practice and our marketing effectiveness team. So really sort of the full gamut of putting comms in front of consumers, but really understanding the performance of that over time. So, and I sit in the marketing group.
Okay, with so many amazing brands.
Yes.
Which one is your favorite to drink?
To drink, yeah. It's this is a good question, and I'm somewhat seasonal about my my drinking. So when it's a little warmer, like here in Vegas, probably tequila, and probably partial to Don Julio, although we have some great tequilas and Casamigos and 21 Seeds and plenty more. And then when it's a little bit colder, like how it is right now back in New York, where I'm from, whiskey, right? And we have a bourbon brand called Blade and Bow. It's a little bit one of our smaller brands, but it's a great brand out of Kentucky, and you should definitely try it as well.
I'm gonna have to get that for my dad. He's coming in 2 weeks, and whiskey's his favorite.
There you go.
All right, I'm gonna jump into the hard questions.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are the key drivers of transformation in Diageo's marketing strategy?
Good question. Look, I mean, I think depending on who you ask at Diageo, I think they'll give you a different answer. So I'm going to approach this from sort of my neck of the woods. I think there were three key pillars. One being the investment that we make in really understanding the consumer. We have a world-class consumer planning group who spends a lot of time really understanding who the right consumer is, what the right occasions are, down to micro occasions on a daily basis almost. And it really helps me on my team and the brand teams develop the right content, and me to be able to develop the right sort of customer segmentation for targeting. That's one. I think another one is partnerships. I think Diageo has done a pretty good job of developing the right partnerships to help us capture the attention of consumers. Some examples of that over the past year might be the work that we did in the Oscars, where we were the first alcohol brand to have an in-show integration with Don Julio. And like that type of partnership is built over time and trust with folks at the Academy, folks at Disney, Jimmy Kimmel, and that helps us break through with moments like that. And then lastly, I believe it's the investment that we've made in measurement. I'm fortunate in that I work for a company that really helps me understand the business impact of our marketing, the business impact of our media. So it allows me to have honest conversations with my partners on the media side to help us optimize that. So I think those three things is a good sort of start as to where marketing transformation is driven at Diageo.
I love that. How has Diageo leveraged technology to enhance its brand presence and consumer engagement?
Yeah, look, I mean, again, this is one of these questions where you'd get a different answer from the commercial side of the business and a different answer from the supply side of the business. I think from my side, we really rely on our partners to help us almost try and hack media buying through technology. We really lean on our biggest partners on the DSP side. Have started to really leverage machine learning over the past few years to help scale who we're reaching by using unique data sets, our own data sets, third-party data sets, and that has really sort of hacked our way into a unique way of buying that has really delivered on a lot of positive ROI for us there. So it's been good.
That's great. How does Diageo balance innovation with maintaining the heritage and core values of its iconic brands like Johnnie Walker and Guinness?
Yeah, that's a great question.
I really had no idea how old both brands were until you told me.
Yeah, so brands like Johnnie Walker and Guinness, our brands have like tremendous heritage. They're, Guinness is hundreds of years old. It started in 1759. Johnnie Walker, I believe, 1820. So these brands have been around for a long time and well before Diageo formed. And we have a responsibility to carry those brands forward, but we also have to innovate based on consumer trends and consumer behavior. I think there's many examples of how we continue to do that while maintaining the heritage. One of them, probably most recently over the past couple of years, is the trend around non-alcoholic cocktails and beers. Guinness is an iconic brand, and we recognize that consumers are also looking for a non-alcoholic alternative in beer. So we actually produced Guinness 0.0, which is a liquid that does a very good job of maintaining the smoothness and the richness of a pint of Guinness without the alcohol, and it's actually done really well for us. So that's one example of where we've driven innovation without necessarily sacrificing the heritage of that brand. I think another thing with Johnnie Walker, right? Whiskey at times could feel old and a bit stodgy, but Johnnie Walker has really taken that keep walking purpose forward and continues to evolve that in different ways. One of the ways that we've done that is if you ever get over to Edinburgh in Scotland, we've developed a Johnnie Walker experience on Princess Street, which is a completely interactive digital experience for our consumers to go in and really experience the brand in a very different way. So these are the types of things that we continue to do, and you could see it in a lot of our partnerships as well as to how we how we do that.
Is that open year round? That's in Scotland, you said, right?
It is.
That's a really cool experience,
Definitely
I think.
head up there.
Yeah. Can you provide examples of successful transformations with Diageo's brand portfolio?
Yeah, I'll answer this one from my side of the world as well, because I think if a brand person was sitting up here, they would answer this a little bit differently. I think for me, I'll talk about how we sort of evolved, how we do media buying at Diageo. So we made a decision probably 5-6 years ago at this point to take greater control of how we buy and how we reach our consumers. We really wanted to kind of balance the work that was being done at our agencies with the knowledge and the discipline internally at Diageo on my team. So we brought certain elements of biddable media buying in-house, paid social at that time, buying media programmatically, and started to really start to take better control, manage our frequency better, manage our targeting better, and with that we were able to drive significant change in terms of our ROI, in terms of our creative performance, and we continue to to do that over time and evolve that. Absolutely bringing our agency partners closer to this as well, whether it be PhD or Vayner or our out-of-home agency MX. But that's how we continue to sort of transform using technology across the portfolio.
I love that. How does Diageo measure the success of its marketing transformation initiatives?
Yeah. So, as I mentioned before, we made an investment to really understand how our media and how our marketing is performing down to an ROI level. And we use some homegrown tools. We certainly use our traditional market mix modeling, but we have a tool that we've built with our agency at Gain Theory that allows us to measure performance down to the partner level. And with that, it allows me to have really honest conversations and allows me to make a case for further investment in media because I truly have an understanding as to what's working and what's not working in our in our mix. Now, not everything can be measured down to an ROI level, but that's always our ambition is to understand the return on our investment there.
Okay, final questions.
Yeah.
So when you're drinking the whiskey, I'm assuming it's on the rocks. But the tequila, what's the cocktail of choice?
So there's a few ways, right? So I think like while you're here in Vegas and you need, if you're interested in like an espresso martini, a good way to have a twist on espresso martini is using Don Julio Reposado on the rocks in an espresso martini, which I find to be very refreshing, especially after a day that starts 3 a.m. East Coast time. I will probably be having one of those right after this.
Everybody should.
Everybody's
in for a long night tonight, I'm sure.
Everybody should, yeah. So that's, but yeah, I mean, a good reposado on the rocks with an orange slice is a good way to go always.
I like that.
Yeah.
I think that's it for us today.
Okay.
Those were great questions.
Yeah.
Great time.
Yeah.
I think everyone can start. Oh, there's one more session.
One more
So
session.
everyone can start drinking a little bit earlier today, hopefully.
Sounds good. Okay.
Thanks,
thanks for your
guys.
time, guys. Appreciate it.
Are there any audience questions? We have a few minutes.
That's good.
Hi. You talked about using or really narrowing down kind of what works best in your media mix for alcohol in general. What works best, if you can, generalize it, or what's been most surprising about your media mix and what's stuck out to you as like, a product or an ad format that works well?
Yeah. Look, I mean, I think I think generally speaking, our investment in video has been an effective channel for us. I think you have to figure out ways to balance the cost of video to drive that effectiveness. But generally speaking, video in short forms, we have found to be probably the most effective for us. I mean, I think any channel that we're able to manage effectively using biddable media and really get close to it and manage that frequency, we could generally make it work. I think what's been really interesting for us lately is how we're continuing to think about how we evolve out of home to using digital formats in at home to get closer to purchase, using location data to understand the better opportunities for out of home, right? So really making sure that we're reaching that consumer on that path to purchase, whether it's outside of a key account or so on and so forth. So we're getting better about using location data and using purchase data and matching those two together to drive better performance. And video is often a vehicle to do that for us.
Jason, if I could, this is just a quick compliment. Best poster I've ever seen. It still makes a difference. Picture New York subway, holiday season.
Yeah.
And the picture Johnny Walker Blue, and it said, "How to tell your father-in-law you love him without saying a word."
Yes, that's a great ad. That's a. I had nothing to do with it, but it is a great ad. That's cool. Yeah, Johnny Walker has always done some real iconic advertising. That's great that you remember that. Thank you.
We have time for some more questions right over here. Nope. Question on the end? No? Question over here. Awesome. I have a cannabis question. I don't know if I want to.
Nope. You could ask it, John. Doesn't mean it's going to get answered.
Apologies for the semi-spicy question, but this is a little top of mind given the recent news of the U.S. Surgeon General kind of outlining the risk of alcohol to cancer a few days ago. How do you navigate that? Is this a pullback on spend? Is it a real allocation exercise to some of your non-alcoholic portfolio products? Mm-hmm. Or, how do you let the dust settle with that?
Yeah. Look, I mean, all I'll be able to say there is that one of the things that I'm most proud of working for Diageo at being the biggest in the world is that we invest a lot in our responsible marketing efforts, in our positive drinking efforts, and I think we're going to continue to do that. I'm not going to be able to comment further on the Surgeon General's report, though.
I have a question for you.
Oh, go ahead, John.
I know that you can't comment on cannabis-infused cocktails, right? But
Yeah, that's right.
however,
Go ahead, John.
I went to the liquor store for the first time, and I saw them in the back of the liquor store.
Oh, did you?
It's not the first time I've been to a liquor store. I've been there once or twice before.
Yeah, that I know.
But they were in the back, and I was shocked that they were able to sell this cannabis-infused cocktail. So now you have, it's not at a dispensary anymore only. Now it's getting closer to eating your lunch a little bit, or at least your breakfast a little bit. What steps are you taking into 2025 to really combat that? Are you changing any one of your brands that might go a little bit younger? Are you changing any sort of marketing or approach to that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that I can answer specifically what our response to cannabis is, John. I think look, I mean, what I said before is that we are very close to understanding what's going on in the consumer marketplace, non-alc, low sugar, low ABV, and I think we'll continue to look at those things and figure out ways to respond to to those trends. But I don't know that I have a great answer in our response to cannabis specifically.
Okay. Does anybody have a question? He could ask anything.
Yeah.
You'll be able to answer this one. I swear.
Thanks, John. I appreciate that. Yeah.
I'll try. We'll see. Maybe on this one. So my question, I love the lean into measurement and making sure that is really the foundation to drive further growth within the organization.
Yeah.
Sometimes measurement can also feel like personal report cards internally, especially when trying to drive transformation or change dollar allocation. Can you speak just a little bit of how you've managed that or what that looks like internally within your organization?
Yeah. Just sort of how we sort of manage. Yeah, give me a little bit more on that.
How do you manage the political part of KPIs when folks can feel personally that they aren't able to, that it's more public in terms of how things are performing or not?
Yeah. Look, I mean, I think we're certainly structured in a way where we are looking at those KPIs, but we're not necessarily tied to it every day. Like we do leave ourselves open to being able to test certain things, and we can't measure everything from the start. For example, at-home is difficult to measure, right? I mean, I think there are times where you could look at the results on at-home and think that just doesn't work, but effectively we know it does work. So we're not always tied to every KPI. It is, look, I mean, I think a significant portion of our investment is measured that way, but we certainly leave enough room for testing and some flexibility so that we're not necessarily tied to it on a day-to-day basis.
All right, this last question.
Thanks, Jason. It's been a great speech. Quick question. You've been around media for a long time. I think one of the mega trends that are happening is maybe a little less effectiveness for traditional mass, and especially in a post-COVID world, a lot more digital. But you just mentioned out-of-home, and I'd be interested in your perspective on experiences in general being driven by on-premise activations, large events, and connecting that through social. Have you seen that increasing in your mix? The use of user-generated content, et cetera. I just would love your perspective on it as someone who's in charge of a very big media budget.
Yeah, look, I mean, we invest very significantly in on-premise activations, non-premise activations, any place where there's an opportunity to get liquid to lips, as we say, at Diageo, is an opportunity for us. I think as far as like using those activations for user-generated content, I think we do a pretty good job of that. It's often like a fine balance. Like how much do the consumers sitting at home want to see other people having a good time at a party, right? And when they're not there, right? So you gotta make sure that you're balancing that the right way, and that you're sort of demonstrating what's going on at those activations as something that's accessible to consumers as well. But yeah, I mean, like we're NFL partners, right? So I mean, who's ever going to New Orleans in next month, you'll see us all over the ground there. These are things. If you're going out to the Oscars, you'll see us all over LA. These are really important places for us to be. And there's a team at Diageo called the Brands and Culture team that does an incredible job of showing up at these places. They do a really good job of that.
Thank you, Clara and Jason. Thank you so much. Please give them a big round of applause. Thank you for your time.